unemployment has risen and where we have migration to Australia at record rates, Mr Chair.
Mr Chairman.
The Honourable Peter Dunn.
Chairman, may I begin by responding to perhaps the last point that the member made relating to IRD's first computer system. It is a 1991 system. Since it was introduced in 1991, we have bolted onto it under successive governments in no particular order: child support, working for families, KiwiSaver, there are one or two others as well that will come to my mind as I go through. So we have a very complicated system, but I want to assure the House and the committee that there is no danger of imminent collapse. The system continues to do today what it always has done. Its capacity to absorb new change is what is at issue. So I think the House needs to be very clear that we are not talking about the imminent collapse of our technology. We are talking about the need to upgrade, modernise and bring it forward to enable us to do the things we do now and will grow doing, and also any new initiatives that come along. And there will be, as I said earlier, announcements later this year about the plan, and I'm sure that the member will be supportive of it when we do announce the whole raft of plans that will need to be taken to upgrade this system. Mr Chairman, I want to pick up on a couple of other points that he made because they are the critical parts of this bill. They are by no means the totality of the part of this bill. But the first one I want to talk about profit distribution plans, the bonus share issue. And the member attempted to draw a little bit of an analogy between what he saw as restrictions in this area and opportunities created for KiwiSaver investment. In fact, the changes that are being made regarding PDPs are simply to prevent what was a potential element of double taxation had those schemes been applied as is being developed. And as the member may recall, we consulted fairly broadly with those who were affected before developing the plans that came through in the legislation that the committee considered. So I don't accept the proposition that this is in some way a restriction on savings opportunities. It's actually preventing a potential element of double taxation, and it's also ensuring that we have a common standard, if you like, for PDPs with similar schemes within the tax system in terms of saving and investment and the tax treatment thereof. The member also spoke about the amendments relating to writing off of unsuccessful software development. Mr Chairman, this is a very important issue actually because it's one that occurred in retrospect. There had always been an assumption, or had been for some time an assumption, that these deductions could be made. Then we discovered that that was not in fact the case. So what we are effectively doing in the amendment in the bill is making clear in statute what had been a common understanding until such time as there had been some doubt cast upon its validity. And there will be a number of occasions where we make changes like this. They are broadly taxpayer friendly, and it's appropriate that we do so. And Mr Chairman, I just want to come back to the comments about KiwiSaver. And I just want to say to the member that he can argue as much as he likes about the relative incentives that this government and the previous government have offered to KiwiSaver savers. The reality is that KiwiSaver membership has more than doubled since this government came to office. KiwiSaver membership is now 3 times what the previous government estimated it would be by 2015. KiwiSaver membership is now not far short of 50% of New Zealanders, and it will continue to grow. And what the government embarked upon in 2008 was a program to ensure the financial viability of KiwiSaver in terms of the government's investment long term. And what the changes being proposed from April 2013 in terms of the increase in the contribution rate recognise are 2 things. Firstly, a recommendation from the Savings Working Group. And secondly, the fact that because of the nature of the changes made a little earlier, we feel more comfortable about the long-term viability of KiwiSaver. Members need to be reminded, and I think it was a correct decision that the previous government made, that KiwiSaver individual investments are not government guaranteed because they're held in private funds. So therefore the government's responsibility here is to make sure that the regulatory regime, the administration of the KiwiSaver scheme is as sound as it can be to protect to the best extent possible the interest of the KiwiSaver members. And I'm very proud of the fact, as I say, that we're just not too far away from having the 2 millionth KiwiSaver identified. I think that is a terrific achievement, and I actually think both sides of the House can take some credit from that. Now, Mr Chairman, I wanted to just draw attention to some of the provisions that are contained in the SOP that I've moved, because SOP 98 applies to a number of the provisions of these of this particular part, Mr Chairman, if I may continue. These are a number of amendments that are related to the outcomes arising from the Canterbury earthquake. And what we've embarked upon quite deliberately since February 2011 has been a series of remedial pieces of legislation as and when needed to give effect to situations that arise as a result of the earthquake and the rebuild. And these changes in this particular SOP are all taxpayer friendly, but they all deal with situations that we could not have anticipated pre-earthquake. And I say to the committee that while I'm very pleased to be bringing this range of measures before the House and the committee today, I do not expect that these will be the last, because this is an ongoing work in progress, if you like, as the rebuild gets underway and issues become identified about the nature of some of the arrangements, particularly between insurers and builders, issues relating to the nature of business activity and the disruptions that it has suffered, pool depreciation rules, treatment of assets damaged that are uneconomic to repair, etc., etc. This is very much new territory. And I want to commend the Inland Revenue Department officials who have worked on this, because they've been diligent in identifying the problems that have arisen. We've consulted with the local community in Christchurch, with the business community, with tax professionals to make sure that we are addressing the particular problems that are emerging. And we will continue to do so as and when necessary until such time as Christchurch is back on its feet. They may not appear to be significant, and taken individually and collectively they are probably not, but they are beneficial to those people seeking to re-establish particularly business and other activities in Christchurch. So, Mr Chairman, they are the main aspects of Part 2 of the bill. It's essentially remedial. It's all very positive, and I think in general terms it will be regarded as taxpayer friendly.
Call Raymond Home.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Thank you, Mr Chair. The Minister who